President Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned the violence in Chad, which led to the death of President Idris Deby. His son has now been named interim president. Deby was killed on the front line yesterday while visiting the Chadian army in the country's north. The 68-year-old had just been re-elected for a sixth term in office. Let's get some analysis from Charles Nyuykonge, an Africa peace and security analyst. Morning to you, Charles. How do you think this is going to play out? I know it's still early days. His son is only supposed to be an interim leader. Will he step down?
Well, as the Transitional Council has decided and the international community has endorsed the son or given recognition to the son, I think that also inadvertently says that they have endorsed the 18-month transitional period. I do not see the son actually stepping down. I think within the 18 months, the son would have consolidated power and would have learned enough to actually continue governing from where he's from.
I mean, could this, in the long run, be good? I mean, despite whether he steps down, could this be good for the country? He's been ruling with an iron fist, very little sort of democratic reforms there. What are we likely to see?
Well, I recall that my former boss, who died last year thanks to due to COVID, His Excellency Pierre Buyoya, former president of Burundi, who came to power in the same way like Idris Deby through a military coup, once said, we have passed the stage of looking at how someone came to power, that we have gotten to a stage of looking at what they did to power. Yes, Idris Deby may have come to power through a military coup in 1990 by the overthrowing of the then Deby. Something would look similar to what has happened. He approached from the north and took over power. The same way the rebels approached from the north, hit him, and today is his history. But suffice to say that Idris Deby, despite how he came to power, was a blessing in many ways to the sub-region and to the continent. In 2016, when we launched Agenda 2063, Idris Deby was actually the president of the African Union at the time. At the same time, Idris Deby has led from the front in the sub-region and not only been a commander-in-chief from the state building, he's been a commander-in-chief right on the front lines of conflict, and what a way to die.
Yes, he certainly was an ally to many countries on the African continent when it came to some of the uprisings that we've seen. Let's talk a little bit about the rebel movement and the attack that killed him. I mean, clearly it's a threat, but how big a threat is it to the country?
I think the rebel movement that killed him was a growing group of dissent in the country. On the one hand, those who felt that he was taking the country for a ride, given that in 2005, to give himself an extension of power, he put a constitutional amendment, of course, with the parliament that he had majority. And in 2018, when he didn't have a popular idea, he decided to take out the term limits and give himself a new mandate, which he just recently started. So just within the civilian population, there was growing discontent about how he was maneuvering the country, how he was taking governance for granted. And many who had actually felt disenfranchised felt there was need to find a way of taking out this strong man. And one of the ways of taking him out was really through supporting whatever form of resistance which would get him out. I think that is manifested in the elections that were largely boycotted by the opposition. And his winning almost 80% of the votes would actually have been a warning signal that those who boycotted are just not going to fold their hands and wait for him to continue ruling for another 12 years, the risk of even dropping the constitutional term limit again just so as to give him the presidency.
All right, Charles, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for that.